Deb here, your spiritual cheerleader and mentor. Welcome to Greatest Jesus in Me YouTube channel. And you know what to do. Subscribe now. Well, friends, today we have a very special guest, Dini.
Hi, how are you doing?
Hey, Dini, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for inviting me. I'm just excited about this opportunity.
And I'm excited to have you here and for us to chit chat about you. But before we do this, I want to share something with our audience. Freedom is not free. This is a quote that is credited to U.S. Air Force Colonel Walter Hitchcock of the New Mexico Military Institute. We have men and women who voluntarily join our armed forces for different reasons. These are the people who take an oath to defend and fight for freedom, our country, and each one of us. We can't take them for granted. Let me share a few stats that I Googled. 334,805,609 people live in the United States. 1,417,370 active duty service members. And this represents 0.4% of the population. 481,254 are active duty Army. That represents 34% of our active duty service members. 74,592 are women in the Army, and this represents 15.5%. 16,987 of those women are officers, and 57,605 are enlisted. These brave men and women make many sacrifices, and so do their families. They are our heroes and sheroes, and we should make it a point to recognize them, honor them, and thank them for protecting and defending our country and each one of us, for putting their lives in harm's way every day. And many have died, and there are many that are living with lasting wounds. Military life is rewarding, but not easy for those men and women and their families. So let's show them some love and appreciation and say, thank you for your service. Let's honor our men and women who are serving here and abroad. That's what we're doing here right now. We are honoring our service members today as we honor Dini. Dini has had a distinguished career in the U.S. Army. She served 32 years and retired at the highest enlisted rank. She was the Garrison Command Sergeant Major E9. And we are honored to have you here, Dini. Thank you for your service.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. It is an honor and a privilege to be here with you tonight.
And I was doing a little research, and there are 13 enlisted ranks, starting with private to E9, and they are broken down in 3 different groups: junior enlisted, non-commissioned officer, and senior NCO. You achieved the highest enlisted rank, which is E9. So now let's talk about you. Let's talk about your career, your distinguished career.
Okay. Well, again, thank you. I joined the military in 1985. When I joined, I was trying to really find a better life for myself. I went through some situations growing up, and I went from, a stable household to being at a juvenile detention center and then being transferred to a children's home and later sent to a foster home and was in jeopardy of going back to the children's home, all because of different, things that was occurring in my life. When my father's sister learned of what was going on, I had never met my aunt. My father and mother separated when I was very young, so I didn't know him that well either. But she opened up her doors and welcomed me in. It was still a rough living. My aunt had three daughters and one at home with her, and she lived in the projects. So it was, money was scarce and times were hard. And I just decided earlier on that I wanted to go into the military. I had an uncle, my mother's brother, who was in the Marine Corps, and just noticed that, it meant that he was away from that life, from the things that were going on in the city at that time. And I decided early that I wanted to join the military as well. So it was January of my senior year. They had a program called the Delayed Entry Program. I signed up for that in January of 85. In June of 85, I graduated. In July of 85, I was in the military, and 32 years, 7 days later, I was retiring.
Well, that is very interesting. The reason why you joined, I know different people join for different reasons. I would say some of them join because that's a way out of a situation, is a way to help you get some type of stability and security.
Yes.
Why did you stay in? You joined because you wanted to get out of that environment, but then why did you stay in the military and make it a career?
Well, I think I was like most people when I joined. I said initially I was going to come in for the 4 years, get the money for college, get out and go to college. I still had a lot of that resistance, that rebellious side, and a lot of things that had happened, and growing up and being at home in that environment. Naturally, it carried forward with me. We are a product, in the military is just a small snippet of society. So those things still do travel with, you don't just shed them when you become a soldier. So I said, well, I'm just going to go do my 4 years, get this money for school, and then I'm gone. But I really had a very rough start. I did not adapt well. I rebelled at every turn, and I think I just did not want anyone to tell me what to do. But having structure is a great part of being in the military, and I was bucking that the whole time. I just didn't want that in my life. But my first duty station at the age of 17 took me to Germany, and that was probably the worst thing maybe ever, because I was away from home for the first time in Germany, and just acting like I had lost my mind, pretty much in trouble and hanging out, all of those kinds of things. So I did have a really rough start. It wasn't until my second duty station that I met this young man named Andre, right? And we'd actually went to advanced individual training, which is where you go to actually learn your proficiency, your skill. But again, that was kind of a fast pace. 8 weeks, you were out of there. We weren't in the same class, but we had met each other in passing. But when I arrived at my second duty station, he was there, and we just kind of, reconnected, and we ended up, marrying and having a son. And it was at that time where I said, well, he was very serious about his career, and I needed to meet him. I needed to be on that same level. So he likes to say that he was the one that really turned my military career around. But I'll give him a little bit of credit. I wanted to be as respected and revered as he was, and he was, very well respected by the leadership and his peers, as well as his subordinates. So that I wanted that as well too, and I knew that I could. So I decided to kind of get my act together and re-enlisted, and the rest is history.
I know you say that your husband at that time was an encourager and you wanted to kind of keep up with him too, but did you kind of set your career path saying, well, I need to do this so I can get to the next rank, or were you consciously doing stuff to get promoted? That's what I'm asking.
Yes, it was really almost a competition, and I was not going to let him just advance and I sit in one spot. So you learn quickly that you need to compete for these boards where you showcase your skills, your technical skills, your physical skills. And I would compete for these boards. You have to go to school. That when you go to these boards and you're seeking to be promoted, you have a list of things that you pretty much have to check off. And one of those things was civilian education. So I started with my associate's degree. I moved quite a bit, as I mentioned earlier, 15 times in 32 years.
Wow.
So I was constantly transferring schools. Now, every time that you go to a new duty station, you may not be able to start school right away. Back in the early 80s, late 80s, early 90s, they didn't have as many brick and mortar opportunities. They didn't have as many online opportunities. Everything was brick and mortar. So then it was literally getting registered at the right time, making sure your paperwork was together, all the prerequisites. So you may have had some lull in between classes and things like that. But I earned the associates, and with several moves and deployments, and I was able to earn the bachelor's. And so I did accomplish that before retiring. We had the opportunity at the Sergeant Major's Academy to enroll in our master's, but I knew that I would be retiring soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that I would not only make sure that my son had some of the educational benefits so he could go to school, but also pursue my master's outside of the military once I retired. And that was driven mostly by financial reasons then. Your school is paid for, of course, but they do give you additional money for books and just a monthly stipend for living. So I was like, okay, well, I'll do that. I'm going to get this master's either way it goes. I might as well do it outside the military and be able to earn a little extra money while I'm going to school.
Okay.
So I started to pursue my master's once I retired.
Mm-hmm.
I enrolled in this accelerated program, and I think it was 19 months. It's called Trident International University, but then when I enrolled, it was TUI.
Mm-hmm.
But I enrolled with them, Truro. I'm sorry, it was Truro, and then it changed to TUI. But yes, shortly after I retired, I earned my master's. So.
Oh, wonderful. You kept it going. You just didn't stop with the retirement, with your bachelor's. You continue to pursue your master's degree. That's wonderful. So when you achieved the rank of E9, was that something you thought you would achieve, or was that something in the back of your head saying, well, I want to get to the highest rank or anything like that? And how did you feel when you achieved that rank?
Well, To answer the first part, I had no idea. As a matter of fact, people that know me now, and there are a few people that, know me now that knew me when I was that rebellious private, especially one gentleman in particular I have to mention. He's a retired major, Jeffrey McGinnis. He was at my first duty station. I asked him to be my MC at my retirement ceremony. I wanted him to be the MC not only because he has such a great sense of humor, but he knew that bad private, the one that was getting in trouble and on restriction and curfew, and sneaking in and out the windows of the barracks, wanting to go to the club like everyone else. And he told everyone at the retirement ceremony that he was in the club just getting his dance on, and I was on restriction, and he looked around and I was on the dance floor right next to him. That was a true story. So he said he was one of the folks again that was just amazed that I turned my whole life around and decided that I wanted to get serious about my career. So initially, absolutely not. I did not see myself coming in and retiring, just getting the money, going to school. But I think staying in, it was very hard, a lot of hardships, but one of the best decisions that I could have ever made.
But your story is an inspiring story, very inspiring, because when you talk about why you got in to get out of that environment and that you were rebellious and all that, and now look at where you are today. So that is to inspire anybody out there to show that no matter how things are or how they look, things can change, and they can change for good, and you can achieve anything you want to achieve. As long as you decide to do it, you can do it.
Yes.
That's an amazing story, especially young people out there that still don't know what they want to do. They're still rebellious. They're still confused. Hey, you know what? Your time is going to come too, because nothing lasts forever.
You're right. And I tell people it really is hope. If that person wants it, I think it's something to be said when you reach a certain position, a certain rank, and you have the ability to affect change and to influence and to motivate. I don't think that you can connect with and relate with folks if you haven't really been through some things. And of course, me having been that rough little private, we used to have a running joke that I made E3 twice, when most people just keep going. And so, yes, I think that you really have to, have gone through some things in order to be able to mentor and help, soldiers as they're coming along. So I think that that's very important.
What was your leadership style? Is it when you are a non-commissioned officer, when you start to lead soldiers?
Yes. So your first exposure, as a leader or in a leadership position, sometimes it comes as a specialist promotable, an E4 promotable, but definitely when you hit E5, you're considered a non-commissioned officer and you're expected to be able to lead. So that's a very hard transition for anyone, because you go from being a soldier to now being a leader. And sometimes that transition is not as easy, it's not as smooth. You still want to kind of be one of the guys. And again, guys being, unisex, but you just want to be, hanging out with the crew. But you have these expectations put upon you now. So it's hard to develop a leadership style that's not going to kind of maybe piss some of your old friends off, put them at odds with you. Like, oh, they think they're special now because they have a little rank. But at the same time, you are, setting the tone. So it's hard to develop any one leadership style and think that that's going to suit you throughout your whole career. It does depend on the people that you have to lead. It depends on the leadership, your seniors. It depends on your mission and where you are. It depends on quite a few things. So I've gone, from one end of the spectrum to the other with my leadership style. I think, you have to be adaptable. You have to be flexible in that style. You have to find what is working for that particular situation. Sometimes deployments, you have a mission. It is, you have things that have to be done, that have to be taken care of, and there's no room for negotiation or back and forth. Sometimes it is just receiving an order, and then from your seniors, and then as that non-commissioned officer, it is your responsibility to make sure that it is carried out, and you do that. So sometimes situations, environments will kind of lend a hand in what type of leadership style you have the ability to work within. So
what advice would you give a young person that is starting in the military and may be considering to stay in and make it a career, and person that is considering to join the military? What advice would you give them?
So if you're considering joining, I would say first, because when you join, it's almost, like a marriage, your whole family is involved in that.
Mm-hmm.
So you do have to have that conversation. You do need the support of your family. You're going to have to go places and do things and be away from your family, and you need to know that that network is there, that they can carry on, they can take care of business, without you being there. And when you come back, that you all are able to reintegrate and to pick up and be able to carry on. So you do have to have that support and that love of your family. Not saying that you can't do it without that, but it is extremely hard, and not everyone is successful when they don't have that support of the family. So if you're considering coming in, that would be the first thing that I would say, have that conversation with your family. You see some of the commercials now on television where the child is talking to the parent and they're transposed into this environment in uniform, and the mother or father may be asking them why. And, so, I mean, it really is one of those things, explain to them, let them know why, your goals, your aspirations, get their feedback. And then once you're in, if you decide, which hopefully that is the case with everyone, that you want to excel and do the best that you can, and as we used to say, be all that you can be. But if you decide that that's what you want to do, then you really need to find a mentor, and not someone that looks like you, talks like you, walks like you, someone that is going to motivate you, put some fire underneath you, keep you moving, tell you the truth, not necessarily what you want to hear, but, keep you moving. So I think having a mentor is important. I had a mentor, and I think if I would have had a mentor earlier on, I probably would not have been in as much trouble as I was. But once I made it to Staff Sergeant E6, my mentor at the time, someone that I looked up to and admired, another Black female, she was an officer, Belinda Pinkney at the time. She was a lieutenant colonel, and she went on to retire as a one-star, a brigadier general. And she achieved at that time the highest rank for a Black female in the finance corps. Wow. So she was an excellent mentor, an excellent role model. So we do need mentors and role models, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. That is just great advice, because as you said, you have to get your family on board. If you're thinking of joining, you need that support system. And if you are in the military and you want to make it a career, there are things that you have to do. And if you really want to excel in the military, you have to do your part. And a mentor is very important, I think, in all professions, whether it's in the military or civilian side, or if you're working in private industry, having a mentor is valuable, because then you don't have to reinvent the wheel, and they can show you the ropes of certain things. You're going to make your own mistakes, but at least if they are there guiding you, you're not going to make some mistakes. So having a mentor is a very good advice.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I agree. They're able to tell you in the military, it is about opportunities and making sure that you know, place yourself in certain situations where you have the opportunity to take certain roles and certain positions and even certain assignments.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard when you take those assignments because most of the time they're not the ideal dream assignments. But sometimes, if your mentor is being honest with you, they'll let you know you'll have to sacrifice, sometimes in order to set yourself apart from your peers.
Mm-hmm.
And those are the things that your mentor will make sure that they let you know. And again, ultimately, the decision is going to be yours, but they will tell you, hey, you need to be here and do this. You need this education. You need to push yourself on your physical fitness and take this job, this assignment, this schooling, in particular, military school, civilian school, they coach you along the way.
Well, Dini, I really appreciate you sharing your experience and your career with us, because I'm sure that this is going to inspire many people in different ways. Even if they don't join the military, it's just an inspiration to see you as a woman and as a Black woman also reaching the highest enlisted rank. And two, it makes us think about the military. And these are the men and women that are out there protecting us. And when we see our men and women, we should say thank you for your service, because you are out there putting your life on the line daily. And we really appreciate that. And we want to, at Greatest Jesus and Me YouTube channel, we want to honor you. And we thank you for being on our program and for sharing your experience with us.
Well, I thank you. I thank you for acknowledging the veterans and those that are still serving. I am very amazed and pleased that you even went through the work of finding out statistically what the numbers were. I remember you said, I think you said 15%. When I came in, the women only made up 8% or a little less than 8%. Mm-hmm. And that's been over 30 something years now. And you see that we're still just barely at the 15%. And as you said, you broke it down from there. So it is changing. I think women in the military are just like the women in society, fighting for their place, fighting for their pay, fighting for their opportunity, fighting for the promotions. It's not easy, but again, whether you're a female and your mentor is a male or another female, they understand the struggle and they help you along the way. And again, having that strong family network, like my son, when I was writing my retirement speech, and I wanted to thank him because I know that if it was not for him working with me and being accepting of all the moves, not that he liked everything, but never rebelling and saying, I'm just not going, it would have been even harder.
Yes.
It would have been more of a struggle. I had to go on deployments and leave him with either family or a friend or and I had to do those things and he, he went and, he told me in my retirement speech, I said, yes, my son, as I was reading this to him, practicing, I said, he went to 5 different high schools and he corrected me and said, no, it was 7, so, and you think to yourself, how is that possible? But if you're on a deployment for 9 months, which some of them started out being 9 months, and then others were 15 months, they range. Some may have been even 6 months. He may start with me, then have to go somewhere else. And then when I come back, he's back with me. And all of those things are moves. And he made it through high school and, he went on to the technical school and graduated and immediately went out into the workforce. He was used to kind of being independent and he's been in Texas ever since he graduated. And He's 32 now, so
Mm.
he's doing his thing, but it made him a stronger individual as well too. So, but you have to have that strong family network, and you have to set yourself up for success. And one of the ways that you can do that is surrounding yourself with people that have your best interests at heart, want to see you excel, and then lean on them. Lean, count on them. Yes.
Well, these are the sacrifices you men and women make when you're in the military, and then your family also make sacrifices. So again, thank you for your service. Thank you for being my special guest on Greatest Jesus in Me YouTube channel.
Yes.
And friends, you know what to do. Subscribe now. Be blessed, and until next time.